Get set for another half hour of Hatteberg's People coming up.
You ever just love to help somebody? You know, you get good out of it. My prayer is to use me today, Jesus.
He put his faith into action and put his money where his mouth was. You'll meet the Wichita landlord who created homes for the homeless and became a hero to the down and out who live among us. Also,
I always wanted a horse, and they're big and they're pretty and they're sweet.
She turned her love of horses into a career. Back in 1984, Sheryl Monahan was just getting saddled up, but she knew her business from the inside out and was ready to ride. We'll travel back in time for that and learn the rest of the story. Plus,
life is too short not to take a chance. They don't want to be a failure, but isn't a failure just not trying?
Desiree Haney quit her teaching job to become a full-time artist. Now, her work was beautiful, but could she carve out a niche for herself and earn a living? Well, you're about to find out. And
life's too short to drive a boring car and live in a boring house.
so Glenda Campbell moved into an old fire station and started collecting cars like this. Now, they're maybe not everybody's cup of tea, but she liked them. And maybe her philosophy of life will inspire you to live it up a little. Hi, everybody. I'm Larry Hatteberg.
And I'm Susan Peters. Those stories and more are queued up, ready to roll on this week's Hatteberg's People.
These stories are like old friends. Their lives radiate from the screen like prophets of the past. They were teachers, but not in a classroom. Instead, they taught about life to those around them who cared to listen, and I was their student.
Some Kansans live in mansions, others live under bridges.
Our lifestyles may vary widely, but a man named Ed Busher wanted to at least get people off the streets and into homes, however humble. Well, in 2003, he was doing just that. And in the process, Ed was cleaning up some old eyesores along Wichita's South Broadway.
It was very bad. It was condemned. It wasn't decent enough for people to live in.
South Broadway has always had a reputation. The Elms Motel contributed to it. Druggies and prostitutes used to call it home. But that's before Ed Busher bought it and began making changes.
As you can see, there's plenty of work to do.
Busher began to rebuild. With secondhand lumber and damaged goods bought at a bargain, the old motel is beginning a new life for low-income residents.
This is reclaiming the land for the Lord and helping the people that fall through the cracks. These were, you could walk across the floor and just bounce like if you was on a trampoline almost. The windows were just unbelievably bad. This is a door that was in an office door. And we cut it down and made it fit in, and built a closet so people could have a place to store their clothes. You ever just love to help somebody? You know, you get good out of it. My prayer is to use me today, Jesus.
This is just one of 4 properties Busher owns. He's trying to finish them as fast as he can, but even though he buys bargain basement goods, he can't keep up with the need.
There's a lot of good people just down on their luck, and I can't help them. That hurts.
Last month, it was Busher who ran into bad luck. A fire burned one of his apartment homes, displacing 6 of his families, who he relocated. Despite the fire, though, tenants love him.
He gives money out of his pocket. He goes home with empty pockets at times to help us.
I got a story behind each one of my tenants that some are paying, some are not, but we get so wrapped up in our own little personal life that we forget to share.
North of the Elms Motel is the Royal Apartments, another one of Busher's properties.
Everybody who walks in here, drives in here, is totally impressed of what it was to what it is.
Here, rooms that were unfit and filthy are now giving hope to those who need it.
This is the old fencing that Payless had thrown away because the boards were all split. And we rip them all up, and that's how we do all of our trim. We want it to be warm, see the flowers, and it just, when people come in, it's comfortable.
For those who rely on him, Ed Busher is a South Broadway beacon, a man of strong faith who has to make a buck, but not at the expense of his tenants. And he says he does it for one reason.
Joy! Again, it's the best part of the day. No end to the work. Thank God. I love it.
Unfortunately, Ed passed away in 2009, and those old motels he refurbished have fallen into disrepair once again. He was really doing something important in the community. He'd get old lumber and he'd refurbish these hotels for homeless people, and they had a place to go. They had a place to live, and they loved him. They absolutely worshiped him.
And it's too bad he's gone, because it takes someone with that kind of commitment to continue that work.
Takes a special person.
Okay, now we're going to hit the rewind button to 1984, when a young Wichita woman was able to turn her love of horses into a full-time job.
Yeah, Sheryl Monahan had big dreams of passing on the joy and tradition of horsemanship to future generations. Here's Sheryl as she was just getting started.
For Sheryl Monahan, the days are long, the mornings early, and the nights late. But she wouldn't have it any other way. Horses are not only her business, they are her life.
They don't care what you're like. They, you know, they don't care how you talk or what you do, as long as you take good care of them or kind to them. I guess it started when I was a kid. You know, I always wanted a horse, and they're big and they're pretty and they're sweet. Yeah.
Last August, Sheryl bought out her partner at the Wichita Riding Academy. Now, as the sole owner, 15-hour days are common. She not only gives lessons, but is responsible for a stable full of high-quality horses.
Well, really, I like all of it. Just being with them. Everything's fun about them, even taking care of them, even the hard work. Getting to see kind of their ups and downs. They have their good moments, their bad moments. Well,
there are more disadvantages to Sheryl's job. For one, she gets no vacation.
My horses need me, and they depend on me. And I think if I went away and left them for a week, I'd have to call here about 3 times a day to be sure they were all okay.
Growing up, Sheryl was not excited about college until she found one with an equestrian program.
Yeah, and I lived in the barn, practically. Yeah. It was fun. You know, I guess college really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, especially when there were horses. And I tell you, really, you almost learn more just being out in the field like this and doing it. You're going, a horse like her, she'll teach you a lot.
Now Sheryl is doing the teaching with pupils like 4.5-year-old Kristen Mayfield.
Let's have Jenny. Look up where you're going. Get your hands out in front of you.
When Sheryl was Kristen's age, she was very shy, and working with horses helped her overcome it.
Yeah, I was real shy. I used to be, I couldn't look anybody in the face and talk to them, or I wouldn't talk, or I'd just kind of sit there and not say anything and look the other way. And I can talk real good now. Sometimes they have a hard time getting me to quit talking.
Not everyone loves animals the way Sheryl Monahan does, but horses helped her grow up, and now she's paying them back with love. This is Larry Hatteberg.
Okay, one hand there, another hand there. Okay, now take General right into the cross ties.
Now, over the years, Sheryl has transformed the Wichita Riding Academy into the largest school of its kind in the area.
She has achieved some of the highest levels of accreditation for her program and continues on now with a team of instructors.
Yeah, and back when I did that story, it was back when she was just starting. We had no idea that she's kind of a legend in the horse business there, and she does just a great job. And there are so many young people and older people who have learned so much from her teaching.
I've heard about her, and I'm so glad she's still here.
Yeah, everybody's heard about her.
Here's another timeless skill practiced by a Kansas woman. Her name is Mary Ellen McKee.
Now, Mary Ellen was a noted seamstress whose beautiful work attracted worldwide attention. This story is from 1993.
To touch fine lace is to touch tradition. These are the instruments that turn thread and fiber into heirlooms to be handed down generation to generation.
When I'm working on them, I'm just in awe. I get lost and I'm not even thinking about what's going on. I'm just doing.
Mary Ellen McKee of Selena creates heirloom christening gowns for children.
I would look to see these gowns around for 200, 250 years from now, long after I'm gone.
Using the finest imported fabrics and laces, she makes what she calls modern heirlooms. In the Victorian era, christening gowns for children were used as a showcase for fine heirloom hand sewing. The christening gowns had long skirts that flowed from yokes and sleeves that were topped off with delicate and intricate embroidery.
I fall in love with these gowns. When I'm working on them, I'm just in awe.
From the loft of her Selena home, McKee's creations bring happiness not only to parents, but to the children as well. Recently, a little girl was going through her first Holy Communion in a gown similar to this.
It was just wonderful. Just the little girl was just prancing around and swirling, and it was just a fun thing to watch. Just to have a child wrapped in the most beautiful, precious little gown.
Mary Ellen's christening gowns have received national attention. Former Today Show host Deborah Norville and the current host of the Today Show, Katie Couric, both have McKee's gowns. Couric even sent Mary Ellen a picture.
I also got a nice formal letter back from her and telling how much she loved the gown, and there's a lot of peace and serenity in what I'm doing.
As generations pass, having a common family thread serves to preserve traditional values.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I have met so many wonderfully interesting people all over the world.
Now, at last report, Mary Ellen had moved to Hot Springs, Arkansas. Now in her 80s, we're not sure if she is still making gowns or what, but we hope she's happy.
I'm sure she
I'm
is.
sure
After
she is.
creating stuff like that, creative people are generally very happy.
They're usually doing something else creative, if not.
Absolutely. Carol Ranney is a well-known Kansas painter, and years ago she saw an article about out-of-the-way Kansas towns.
Yeah, well, that gave her an idea. Why not paint a scene from every county in Kansas, all 105 of them?
Oh man. I can't remember a time in my life when I didn't want to do something creative.
Artist Carol Ranney is on the cusp of an adventure that started 22 years ago.
I started out wanting to do one painting per county, but some counties are just so interesting and so beautiful that one painting's not going to do it.
For a while, life got in the way. Children, family illness. Then, earlier this year, with everything under control, she decided to go on the road again.
Packed my paints and decided I was going to finish this project before I died. And it may take me that long.
I caught up with her as she painted on this historic 1893 Iron Truss Bridge in Elk Falls, Kansas.
I see shades of purple in the shadows. Where the rocks are wet, they're a dark brown and they just kind of glisten in the sun. You can hear the water coming over the falls. It's not loud and roaring, it's just kind of a soft, gentle trickling noise that I enjoy.
In these places where nature meets art, Carol's palette contains a lifetime of images and experiences that she applies to the Kansas Landscape Project.
I just really enjoy trying to capture the landscape with my paints. And when I paint, the world just goes away. I can't paint and worry about all of the cares of the world. It just is that self-absorbing for me.
Carol says Kansas is, in her eyes, much like a young girl.
I kind of describe her as being a little bashful. You just really have to get to know her to find the beauty. It's fun. I do love it.
And Carol has found that beauty in watercolor, acrylic, and oils. And she has the ability to see art as it's transferred from mind to canvas.
It's a good day when I can say, Carol, you did well today. When I've had a good painting day, I can just lay down at night and be at peace with who I am and what I've done that day. And I don't think you can ask for much more than that.
Well, as often happens in life, roadblocks pop up that force us just to change our course just a little bit. Well, after painting scenes from around 40 counties, Carol had to put her project on hold for a number of reasons, but things are looking up and she's just about to get back at it. I saw her when she was in eastern Kansas painting one night near this old bridge, and she was just having a great time. The sun was getting low in the sky, and she had that paintbrush going, and the picture of this bridge was just coming to life.
I'd love to see all 105 of her pictures.
She's a very good artist.
Doing art for a living is a dream for many, but it's not always easy.
No, it's not. Nevertheless, Desiree Haney took a chance and her art career quickly took off. Here's a story from 1995 when Desiree had begun making a name for herself and was rising to international prominence.
I love what I'm doing. Something like this you get lost in. You keep going and you can daydream. How many other jobs can you do that?
Desiree Haney is in her dream job. She is an artist and wood sculptor. Animals are her specialty.
This particular piece is called Pursuing Life, and all it is if you got to keep running because there's something after you, which kind of symbolizes if you're doing something in a job, if you don't do a good job, there's someone out there that's going to take your job away from you.
Her work is seen in 45 states and many foreign countries. She has the ability to make a single piece of wood alive with personality.
I studied a lot of kinesiology and physiology in my studies in college because I wanted to be a cartoonist. And I figured if I knew what could bend and what couldn't, I'd know what to exaggerate. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to think quick enough to become a cartoonist.
And with that twist of fate, these animals were born, all carved out of a single piece of wood.
It was a study on how far a cat can twist around, kind of like a spring. But if you look at the look on his face, it's so nasty. And it's almost like someone said, if someone twisted you around, you'd be looking at them too. But he definitely has a nasty attitude.
Desiree started as an art teacher. That's where she found her carving ability. And it was a leap of faith that caused her and her husband to quit their jobs and to take a chance.
Life is too short not to take a chance. They don't want to be a failure, but isn't a failure just not trying? My husband helped a lot in believing in me, and that was the whole thing. If someone believes in you, then you believe in yourself, because you get frustrated real easy.
Desiree's personality gives voice to her silent art.
I've been told that I sound like a chicken cackling.
It's her wit and charm that chip away at life like flakes of wood from her knives.
It's something that people say you can't make work, and so you work like heck to make it work just to show that they're wrong. I guess it's revenge, I don't know. I don't like to do any violent type pieces. I like things that are kind of gentle and everyday, something that we can relate to and enjoy.
With several books to her credit, her national prominence continues to grow. But it is her easy manner, her talent, and her eye for the animals that brings these little guys to life.
Some do, some don't. Some you'll work on and you just can't get them alive. And other ones are alive before you're even done with them. They look at you and kind of, you talk to them, or I do. I don't think we'll ever regret, if everything just went under tomorrow, we'd be so glad because we've had a chance to travel all over and meet so many neat people.
Well, Desiree's star continued to rise. She has written 8 books and numerous articles on wood carving.
Desiree has won dozens of awards in art shows. She continues to teach seminars throughout the United States and Canada and continues to carve those amazing animals.
And she, like other artists, she found her niche.
She did.
And she loves it, and her work is incredible.
And she's actually making money.
That's a real plus in the art world.
Isn't it? Yeah. From horses to cars, and a Wichita woman whose style was a little bit different than most of us.
Yeah, Glenda Campbell liked the kind of car that most of us only ride in once.
A hearse is definitely the vehicle for me.
When Glenda Campbell takes a nap, it's in a hearse, her hearse.
And there's lots of room.
She works here at WSU at the National Institute for Aviation Research. Her office is almost overcome by her memorabilia, but some of what she loves to collect is too large to put on a shelf.
To me, they're like a big station wagon. As a matter of fact, that's what I call this. I just call this my wagon.
Glenda and her husband Steve own 4 hearses.
My husband and I have always liked the macabre, always. Always liked the creepy shows, always liked the morbidity, and not everybody drives a hearse.
Her husband drives, as his work car, a 1983 Mercury Thacker. That's known in the funeral industry as a first call car.
And my husband puts his tools in it, and it holds a lot of tools.
With 4 hearses in all, their fleet sometimes causes a lot of attention.
People stop and wanting to know what's going on, and are those all your hearses, and do you drive those, and they all belong to you? Yeah.
The other fact that makes this family unique is that they also live in an old Wichita fire station.
Fire station number 6, built in 1953. Life's too short to drive a boring car and live in a boring house. If you're our age and there's something that you want to do that you've never done, you better get to doing it, because you may not be here tomorrow to do it.
Like a lot of us do as we get older, Glenda and her husband have downsized since that story back in 2004. Now, they sold the old fire station and moved to Winfield.
They also sold off all the hearses except for one. Glenda recently retired from WSU and is looking to simplify life just a bit. I don't blame her.
No, simplification is good.
It's so good. It's so refreshing and so much fun, isn't it?
How do you really feel about it, Susie?
Yeah, really. Well, every week we invite you to email us your comments or questions. And this week we're going to share some of those that we have received.
Now, the first one is from Carolyn. She writes, "Dear Larry and Susan, I'm so glad that your repackaged shows and some new ones are available to us. I enjoy them on Thursday evenings on KPTS and Saturday mornings on KSNW. I especially liked last Thursday's presentation, which included the black NASA engineer from Wichita and the feature on Clyde Tombaugh. My mother was proud to have been at KU in the 1930s when he was famous there. Thank you." That's from Carolyn. We love getting mail.
Oh,
it's
isn't
great,
it neat?
isn't it?
Here's another one from Todd. He writes, "I would just like to say it's nice to see Larry and Susan Peters together on TV again. I've been watching you guys for 30 years. You two have always been my favorite journalists." Todd.
Isn't that sweet?
That shows us how old we are. He's been watching us for 30 years.
I thought it was like 5 years.
Yeah, really.
5 years or something. Well, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Todd.
Meanwhile, Gail writes, "We love your shows. Please don't ever stop these." And that's signed Gail. Well, we hope we don't, but at some point they may end. It's quite possible.
I don't know. There's a plethora of Hatteberg's people out there.
But we won't live forever, but we're going to try. We're going to do our best.
By the way, if you'd like to share your comments about Hatteberg's people, send us an email at hattebergspeople@kpts.org. We would very much appreciate what you have to say.
And we appreciate you watching our program. Until next time, I'm Larry Hatteberg.
And I'm Susan Peters. It was great to have you with us. We'll see you later.
For a free copy of this program, become a new member of KPTS for a $40 contribution. If you are already a member, just send $25 for shipping and handling. Be sure to include the program's name, date, and time.